Why am I a Rev? Because I went to seminary. That's the short answer. Okay, I'll stop getting. Chris, I'm not against Christianity. I'm against toxic Christian patriarchy and Christian nationalism. So that's a really broad statement to make. Okay, shenanigans, I will. I'll go look at it. When did you send it? Let me know when you sent it. Oh, that'll be good. Thank you. Hi, 40% A. Burke. How are you? I'm glad you're here too. Okay, sorry, I have been a little busy and I'll get caught up. I'll get up without it. Well, I'm glad you're here. Hey, Dee Dee. It's good to see you as well. How is everyone? Hey, Tori. How are you? Are there some good things happening with defense of democracy? I hope so. I know you all are doing great work. Um, okay, so I'm we've been focusing a lot in my in this account on these lives on the deconstructing process and moral atheist, but you only oh that's funny. Dipshit? I don't know what the hell that comment means, but maybe if it's code for you, it's funny for you. I don't know. Don't forget you're also talking to a boomer. Beauty is very subjective, but I would say that the majority of the people that are here are beautiful. We're already seeing the trolls, aren't we? It's all right. They think they do something here, don't they? How is everybody? Happy Monday. It means vote for Trump. Tori, what's your theory? Hi, Michael. I hope you're doing well as well. Tori, what's your theory? Let's hear it. Do you want to come up? I have to go do a couple of things. Rev Karla's shop. I think I'm going to lose my background when I do this. Send. Okay, y'all, give me a minute. I'm doing something. I'm going to go do a thing, which means if I lose you, I'll come back. Connecting. Wait, that's not what I want to do. Co-host with the Mecca. No, 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 no. That's not what I want to do. No, I'm not doing that one. I want to co-host with refresh. Rev Karla shop, are you in here? It's not showing you as an option for co-hosting. But I think that's how I have to do it to have you help mod and invite people in. Let me see if I can do it from here. Nope, I can't. Just moderating to send. Renee says, I've seen pastors searching for a new identifier than Christian. I think there's a lot of people trying to figure out what that is. I'm not paying attention right now, Stacy. How bad is it? Hi, Liza Marie. Thank you for being here. I'm trying to figure out a setting. So y'all be patient with us because the only time I can see some of these settings is when I actually go live. Suggested invites. Lynette, can you see if you can request to co-host from your end? Because I don't see. All right, I'm going to try something. I've started it. I'm not seeing any messages, Stacy, right now. I just don't know why I can't invite Lynette to co-host. I'll figure it out. Lynette, see if you can do it on your end. Okay. All right, that doesn't surprise me. We'll just keep checking it and see what we can do. I do know that once I do this, sorry, my face is going to like be crazy big. Tori, did you want to come up? I know I just lost my green screen. I don't know what I'm doing. I try to figure out this live studio stuff. Hi, Spencer. It's so good to see you. Okay, I think I can invite you. Come on up.
Hi.
Hi there. Somebody grab AV Dubspoon's comment. I'll make sure to come to that. How are you, Tori?
I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there.
Good. So you said you had a theory.
I did. I recently learned about the 4B movement.
I'm sorry, say that again. What was it?
I recently learned about the 4B movement. Have you heard of this?
No. You're not talking about the is it Four Square Church movement? What is this? No, I haven't heard anything about it. What is
this?
this?
Is a radical feminist movement that was originated in South Korea, from what I understand. And it's rapidly moving. I saw a TikTok live that was called 4B West. My theory is that if Trump wins, which unfortunately he may, I suspect that America will be fertile ground for 4B to take hold. Because, I mean, elect a rapist once. Sorry, I won't use that word. But do it again. All the while you're taking away our rights to our bodies, to birth control, to divorce. It's
so actually, are they part of like a Christian nationalist movement or what?
No, it's a radical feminist movement out of South Korea, and it has 4 tenets. And it's that you're not going to have relationship with men. You're not going to have relations with men. You're not going to marry them, and you're not going to have their children.
Well, if Project 2025 comes into effect, I think that there will be, I actually think that there will be forced marriage. I think that there will be, that women will be subjugated to such a caste system that there will be forced marriage of fertile women. This is not a movie. This is not a series. This is real life. If you don't know it, go read Project 2025. Read Heather Cox Richardson today, where she was talking about the person who, let me pull it up. Does anybody else notice how Google Drive just keeps logging you out?
Yes, it's because you probably have multiple Googles. How many Google?
Okay, so Living Dead Guy says that Katie Britt is pushing for pregnancy permits. So you're seeing, and the fact that Texas is literally discussing unaliving women who
Yeah.
terminate pregnancies.
Didn't also Virginia talk about that, or South Carolina, or
Yeah,
some state?
this
Oh,
it's
right.
all out in the open. It is all out in the open. What's happening here. And here's the really crazy thing. Well, I don't want to get down that rabbit hole with you sitting here because I want to take the opportunity to talk about your work. Deleting Moral Atheist says deleting no fault divorce. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even though Trump talks about like, well, he's going to have a plan or he's going to announce his policies, we know what his policies are because all you have to do is read Project 2025. You can read the articles that are attached to the people who are the collaborators of Project 2025. They want to take control of all fertilized frozen embryos that aren't being used. There's going to be forced pregnancies. This is not a conspiracy theory, which by the way, this is for educational purposes only. We are informing people of what Project 2025 says, and we know the people behind it. But the way they try to dilute it and keep the alarms from not being so loud is by saying, well, all we want to do is return the decisions back to the states. And then you have people like Mike Braun who say, well, we want, states should be deciding everything, including whether there should be interracial marriage. That a lot of this stuff that's been decided for years, they want to strip away any rights that equal the playing field and threaten the white Christian man. So we
So,
know that. So I'll have to look into this 4B movement, and I
so
haven't
there's
heard.
issues with 4B. It's an extremist movement,
I
right?
can I can
It's physics.
imagine. Yeah.
It's physics. And just the way that we have seen overcorrection again and again as we watch the pendulum swing of this horrifying crescendo of whatever is happening. But from what I've seen here on TikTok, there is a very strong thread of turf ideology within the 4B movement as it stands now, as it is hitting the states. And
Thank you for the follows. Tori, talk a little bit about your organization or your affiliation with your organization and what you're working on and how people can get involved.
yeah, so I am really, really grateful to work with an organization called Defense of Democracy. It was founded in New York State by two veteran mothers, and they were concerned about Moms for Liberty taking over their local school board. They were watching in upstate New York book bans and really concerning things happening at the school board level. So this organization is specifically designed to help you get involved on a hyper local level with your school board, with national support to run for school board, understand how school boards work. We have media training. Our tenets of ideology for the entire group is just inclusive education is a cornerstone of democracy. That's it. That for democracy to function, there must be a separation of church and state. That's it. And so it's nonpartisan. There's lots of different little groups. So check it out. If you are going through separation from your family because they are in the Trump religion or you can't agree on politics, that's something I'm going through. And Defense of Democracy has been a place for me to find community when I did not have any community because my entire family is in the Trump religion and I have not spoken to them for 3 years. So not only is it a way to feel like and actually be doing something to fight against the rise of Christian nationalism at your community level, it's also a place to find people that are safe to talk to, that understand what's happening, and to get collaborative, because it's going to take everyone. And so, yeah, I cannot stress to you enough just the value that it's brought to my life and I actually had to step down as a chair. I was a chair for Payne County here in Oklahoma, but I am in my residency to be a midwife. And I am starting to catch babies, and I have 14 on deck, and so I cannot volunteer at that level, but I can tell you that it's very easy to volunteer for them, and it's very rewarding. So Defense of Democracy is doing amazing things in your community, and if they're not, then you can be a part of starting that. It's going to take every state, every county, every person getting involved to make our voices be heard, that we are not okay with Christian nationalism.
Well, first of all, congratulations and best of luck to you on your, I guess, will that be a certification of?
Yeah, it's similar to like a resident doctor, and then you would take an exam. So I'll take a state licensing exam called the NARM, and that'll be probably in about a year. So I just kind of have to focus in on that.
So one thing that you might be able to speak on, which is kind of shifting gears a little, is I saw recently where Florida has announced that they're going to allow these birthing centers to offer cesarean sections. And with so many of the hospitals in Florida closing down their pregnancy and OBGYN services, they've now shifted to these private partnerships with doctors that are opening these birthing centers and allowing them to even go into they created legislation to allow them to perform cesarean sections at these birthing centers. And I haven't read this article for a couple of days, but what I remember is, by the way, thank you so much for the shares and all the likes and the love in the comments. Is that the midwife organizations there are against this because it's allowing some services that, of course, they don't perform, but it also prioritizes the patient being able to find those services through these birthing centers that are now hooked up to these private doctor associations that do have an affiliation with the hospital that the midwife program doesn't have. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not, but I do know that Florida is unique in the midwifery community because there are a lot of birthing centers, and midwifery has, for whatever reasons, been able to flourish quite well in Florida, whereas in other states it's been illegal, sometimes for decades, or unregulated. And so that's very interesting. I'm going to have to read into
Yeah,
that.
research it because the midwife association, whatever it's called, raised the
Yeah.
alarm on them
Yeah.
doing this. And they
Well, I
felt
mean,
that it was a way to cut them out, and because, like you said, it's a very effective program, but this is a way to cut them out and focus on the services of these birthing centers that are coming through these corporate organized doctor associations. So I just wondered about that and what this
yeah,
had
and
to
it
do with
doesn't.
everything else that's happening as Florida goes down the toilet.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a good thing because, one thing that people misunderstand about out of hospital midwives, so I'm training to be a community level midwife, which means that I care for low risk pregnant and birthing people. And if there's any sort of risk and they go out of my scope, then we go to talk to a doctor and we go to the hospital, right? And so it's really important to have that collaborative care. And while I feel that anybody should be able to hire a midwife or not, or hire a doctor or not, there are certain standards that we have to meet. And if I think about wanting to transfer a client in for a cesarean, we don't necessarily just need a cesarean. We may need a blood transfusion. So are these birth centers, are they stocking O negative blood, or more, precisely matched blood?
Yeah,
Also, do they have NICU services? So there's not just one patient, there's two patients.
yeah,
Yeah, so it just sounds like a very big problem.
yeah, for sure. So if people want to get involved with Defense of Democracy, I know you and I are mutuals, but I think there are several accounts here on TikTok where they could follow? What's one that like represents the national organization
Yeah,
or just even
DFD.
your username?
Yeah, DFD. If you just search DFD, or Defense of Democracy, that the national account should pop up. And then you can also just search DFD and then type in your state. Every
Okay.
single state has a state level page that hopefully is being managed by a volunteer. So that's a good way to get connected to what's going on in your state. Oklahoma is really active right now. Obviously, New York, it's where it started. We have a lot of people in Texas. We have people all over the East Coast. I'm pretty sure we have a chapter in every state, not
Okay.
in every county, but that's the goal because it's all about hyper local engagement with your school board.
Do you have any affiliation with Red, Wine, and Blue? Who they're also doing some educational and uniting people and helping them have the information they need to be prepared
Uh huh.
and to advocate.
Is it red wine
Uh-huh.
and blue?
It
Ah,
is.
that's a
It
nice little
is.
hook they got there.
I spoke at one of their events a couple of months ago on the threat of Christian nationalism. They're also
Yeah.
here. They're big on other social media platforms as well. And I'm speaking in a couple of weeks on, I'm being interviewed for their podcast. So they do a lot talking about that intersection of activism and blending it with your, your spirituality, but also educating people on how to get connected on the local level, how to advocate for basic, integral human rights, and also then how to talk to people in your inner circle. Because the method is that if you're talking to 10 to 40 people that you're closest to, if you can do it safely, we should say that.
Yeah.
There's many people who's had to go non-contact, and we understand the reason for that. So yeah. So anyway, you might want to check them out. But as far as Defense of Democracy, I signed up, and there's like a couple of videos that you watch that's part of your orientation. It's very simple. Then you start
Mhm.
receiving the emails, and then you can come into your educational forum. So it's all
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm so glad that you joined, and you can be as involved as you want to be. Like I shared, I was a leader in my community for the last almost year, and now I'm stepping down. But we hang out. We hang out once a month, and we built friendships, and we've done events. We've got pride events that we have tables at right now, getting people involved. And so that's the nice thing is that you can do as little or as much as you want to. You don't have to be out there protesting either. We go to the state board of education meetings and we protest, but some people don't. Some people stay home and they do behind the scenes. So there's a place for everyone. It takes everyone's voice, everyone's approach, everyone's perspective. So the diversity is exactly where we're going to win this is because we embrace diversity, and it is our greatest strength.
So look for Defense of Democracy here. Also look on the other platforms for your state. A lot of them have Book of the Face groups where you can go in and learn more about you. I think here in Indiana we've got like 90 some people in it, which is still something. I mean, we're as red can be, and there's 100 people who are wanting to make a difference. So that's how change starts. So it's important information.
So exciting to see people gathering together and just making it happen. It reminds me of like how amazing it is that we conduct science. It's such this massive undertaking. It's so tedious. How could we ever know a thing? And it takes such bravery to undertake science.
Oh
And that's
gosh, for sure.
yeah. And when I see this happening, I'm like, okay, because the Christian nationalists, they have been organized for a very long time, and they have a lot of money behind them. So
Yeah, which I
it's
think is hilarious when they talk about all the billionaires that are supporting Democrats. Dude, have you not seen the mega churches? Have you not seen the people that we don't even know how many millions are behind those, because they're not required by our statutes to report their donations and their income and what they do with that money. No way, shape, or form. So we have no idea. Yes, we know some of the mega millionaire and billionaires who are supporting Christian nationalism, but when it comes to the church support, you have no idea.
Well, the thing is what I figured out is it's always projection every time.
Mm-hmm.
So
It is. It is. So is especially when you look at, and this is a very true thing. 2 years ago, the Southern Baptist Convention issued a really, really scathing report. They basically were forced to, because so many uh, cases of unreported abuse they could no longer keep out of the public eye. Too many people were coming forward telling their story. So when they finally released this audit of how many hundreds of clergy and church leaders who had either abused women or children, and a lot of them gone unreported, you start to see this fascination with this ridiculous obsession with the trans community. You understand what they're doing. You understand what they're doing. And when you look at the data, that the data is, none of that is supported by data. None of that is supported by data. You can
Right.
go week after week, and again, I'm thinking about that. I think her name is Kristen. I'm sorry. I got to do a better job with my database. But there is an influencer here who has a database going, and it's never a trans person. It's always a member of a church, somebody in politics, or clergy that's doing
yes,
the abuse. It's the white Christian man.
yeah.
And
And
go ahead.
now here in Oklahoma, we have a Senate Bill 36 that would put pastors in the schools, just like they successfully did in Texas. However, when that bill passed in Texas, to date, only one school district has implemented that because it's an opt-in the way it's written. I'm telling you what, Senate Bill 36 here in Oklahoma has Astroglide on it working through the legislature. And my very own representative told me out loud that he would not vote yes for it. And then guess what he did? He voted yes for it.
Oh my God.
And he said because there were revisions, like that they can't proselytize and that they go look it up. The revisions, Senate Bill 36. It's currently in the works, like on ready to be on the governor's desk. I don't know that it'll get signed into law this legislative session, but it moved quickly,
This
and it's
is
terrifying.
this has always been the plan. For
Yeah.
all the years that we've watched our Congress underfund public education, not make it a priority. And then when you have things like McConnell putting in the filibuster and things like that, so that there could not be any more infusion of funds. And we would sit back and tisk tisk tisk, because we would say they're going to drive away the good teachers. That's exactly the plan, because good teachers teach critical thinking skills. They teach empowerment. They teach agency and autonomy over your body. They teach you not to lose your voice. They teach you to use discernment. They teach you these things so that you become an active, independent person. So when you lose those teachers because they're not getting paid what they're worth, they don't have the resources in school that they have, they can't be safe. We can't even keep the most prized possession in our country safe, and we keep saying we're going to lose good teachers. That was always the plan, because the plan for Project 2025 is to replace all quote qualified teachers with unqualified teachers who basically, as long as they adhere to the doctrine that's inside Project 2025, because we talk a lot about what they're going to do is eradicating the public sector so that there's no funding for anything for people unless you are an able-bodied white Christian man. All those fundings are going to go away. That's why I keep saying people who are supporting this are so ignorant, because right now you have somebody in your family who's relying on disability. You have somebody in your family who's going to be impacted. Your closeted nephew, your trans neighbor, those people that you pretend to love and care about are going to be impacted by this program. So unless you're a white Christian man, there's not going to be anybody left standing except them. Everybody else's all rights are going to be suffocated. And so now inside the public school, you have the right, just like where is it that they're getting ready? They're getting ready to put the Ten Commandments back in the school. They're getting ready to implement prayer. They're getting ready to, now you can have pastors who are the most unqualified counselors for anything. And not just any type of pastor. You know, these are going to be pastors who are gulping down the Christian nationalist ideology, which means that they are very much a very small subset of Christianity that says we believe in the literal translation of the Bible, and everything that they believe in those translations as far as male, female, only two genders, science is, the earth is only 6,000 years old, all of that nonsense. That's what our educational system is going to be, because it's about perpetuating that institution. I'm sorry, go ahead.
They've already been working this entire pandemic at discrediting science and dismantling institutions in that way. It's terrifying. But I wanted to ask you, did you know that the woman who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood, did you know that she grew up in the evangelical church?
No, I didn't.
And that is her own autobiographical, if that's a word, kind of like processing of the evangelical. She was, I learned that on that mini series that was real popular called Shiny Happy People.
Oh yeah.
Because she is interviewed within that mini series, and she talks about Bill Gothard and his cult being just fodder for, her imagination in writing Handmaid's Tale. And I remembered that when you said that you think that there will be forced marriage, because she would agree with you.
Yeah, this is not, that's not far from that. I always remind people, because you can't help that the Handmaid's Tale is definitely inside our top of our framework, but Black women always remind us that we must not minimize the pain of Black women, the pain and suffering that has been generations and decades and hundreds of years of oppression that certainly go before any Handmaid's Tale. So identifying and acknowledging and affirming that we recognize that, and that is that reality is about to become the reality for every woman in this country. Right. And the other part of that is the fact that the way, I'm not sure where it will be safe in the United States. And I want to believe that, I don't want to believe he's going to get elected. I honestly believe, I do believe this. I think that the polls are skewed right now because mainstream media is feeding off the fodder of the fear. I do believe we are the silent majority, even though there are a lot of complacent, ignorant people. I talk to people all the time who've never heard of Project 2025, have never heard of it. They don't even know what Christian nationalism is. No. We live in this.
They just think that Trump is just this silly guy. He's good at business. They can't even read a headline. But they are so disassociated.
Yeah, I think our bigger concern is the refusal to acknowledge the election results. I think that there is a greater concern of whatever this uprising that people like Mike Johnson and Harrison Butker and his group, that's part of the traditional Latin Mass. And again, TikTok, this is for educational purposes. Um, Tori, I'm going to take a quick question here. Isabella, because being affiliated with a church is not a requirement to be a reverend. There are many people who go to seminary. There are many people who do different jobs, but that require some kind of seminary experience. And you're also just putting it in the silo of Christianity when you say church. There's not churches, i.e., Christianity. It doesn't have uh, a whole just on reverends or ministers. Many different types of belief systems and paths have ordained ministers. So I hope that answers your question. Yes, Quicken, I don't know if I'm saying you're welcome, Isabella. Queshan, am I saying your name right? I'm trying. Now you are listening to Black Women. We have been saying it the longest time. You have, and we are listening. We're paying attention. And one of the things I lost my green screen when I brought up a guest, but one of the things I said when I said tips on deconstructing is focusing on your Christian nationalism indoctrination, because so many people don't focus on that. And so they end up holding on to some of the indoctrination, which we just got to admit is affiliated with white supremacy. Christianity and its link to white supremacy. It takes us back to even before the Civil War. You have to look at our link to Manifest Destiny. You have to look at the link to Seven Mountain Mandate. You have to look at the link at Dominion Theology. You have to understand that is you have set, if you set in a Christian church in America, you had some exposure to this. Because I even dabbled in it a little bit in a progressive church, because it is about the leadership inside that church and what was their experience and what they bring to the teaching. So that is such an important part, and I think that's why it's important that we always amplify and elevate what that indoctrination looks like, and why it's important that when we deconstruct, we also must decolonize. Gems by Joey, it's Project 2025. It's Project 2025. If you go to project2025.org, you can see that. Carlene, it's so good to see you, and thank you so much for the subscription. It's so cool to see it when it comes up on there. We've been spending a lot of time getting ready to launch that, so please be patient. We'll be announcing some things in there soon. We'll be having some sub-only lives, as well as content that's coming your way. So thank you for subscribing to that. Tori, I'm going to let you drop down, but thank you so much for your time. Good luck. How soon will you be certified? Oh, she didn't hear me. Okay, she's gone. Is there anybody else waiting to come up? Violet said, I was too afraid to even vote against what my parents believed until recently. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, okay, so Quayshawn, am I saying your name right? If you could spell it phonetically, I want to make sure I'm being respectful there. It is 1,000 pages long. Now there are several, if I have a playlist, I think here on TikTok, if you type in Project 2025, you're going to find a bunch of people who have done a summary of that. Anybody who's quiet about it, that's where I'm concerned. I think we talk about people talking about, thank God my church isn't this way. Well, if your church isn't talking about the dangers of Project 2025, more than likely you are sitting in a church that supports it. And that's terrifying. That's terrifying, that the amount of people who are ignorant and complacent to Project 2025. Did I have a question from early on that I was going to ask? Thank you. I see it highlighted. Someone said, I'm trying to deconstruct, but I'm more scared than anything because I'm gay. Um, Being scared of deconstructing is really normal. I think I have one of the screen images that I can put behind me that I don't know how right now. Talks about you're isolated, but you learn to be empowered. You are often overwhelmed because of so much that you're untangling from when it comes to your beliefs and how you show up in the world and what you believe about yourself. But then it's also liberating because it takes time. All of that takes time. So the most important thing about deconstructing is to give yourself the time that you need and trust in the process. So, in spaces like this, I think that's what someone had mentioned earlier. That's why they want to get rid of TikTok. It's absolutely right why they want to get rid of TikTok. They want to get rid of TikTok because of the type of communities we're finding with each other here. We are finding each other here. We're helping each other heal. We're helping each other become educated and informed. We're learning what it means to be a helpful ally and what it means to be a productive advocate. Hello.
Hi, how are ya?
Okay, I was hoping if I brought you up, I would be able to make you a co-host, but now the co-host part is grayed out. I'll tell you what. um, AV Dub Spoon says, I hear things like strong delusion, itching ears. There's a way that seems right. I'm not sure what, I might have missed that. Jody 411, what happens to LGBTQIA plus with 2025? My child is LGBTQIA plus. It is right now, Jody, across the United States. If you go to aclu.org, they have a tracker, and that tracker is monitoring the progress of over 500 bills related to uh, laws to eradicate the rights of the LGBTQIA plus community. When they started tracking this, it was at 100. And now it's over 500 bills. It also shows you, it gauges the states that are doing the most harm to the rights of the LGBTQIA plus. And as scary as that is, the reality is the only way we can stop this is if we understand how bad it is. And it's really bad. So depending on what state you're in, there are some resources available to you. So if you have not heard of the Rainbow Youth Project, it's here on TikTok. They're getting very active with helping. I am at the beginning stages of an organization who's looking at trying to do resources and transports as well. So I would pay attention to aclu.org. I would also pay attention, I don't know the age of your child, but depending if your child is especially involved in public schools, I would be watching for what is the school board doing and what are they doing to protect the LGBTQIA plus students. Because for many of them, they've passed laws and they've got Moms for Liberty candidates who've come in and they're starting to eradicate. They're starting to put in rules that say that students if they identify with a gender that's not equal to their birth, then they must report that. And if they don't, the teacher can be fired. So there's no safe place inside the school. For so many years, teachers who have been allies and advocates have even been able to put up a sign for the LGBTQIA plus students to let them know that they're safe, because if it's not safe for them to come out at home, they need somebody to talk to. And these teachers have been able to provide a safe haven, knowing the unalive rates of these kids is so high. And yet here we are passing all these laws. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. As maniacal as this and sadistic as this sounds, it's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to eradicate the problem by eradicating a swath of humanity. What are they going to do to us? They're just eradicating your rights. So what they're really wanting to do is make it so that you will just be denied any rights, and people have the right to deny you services. They're hoping that you will go back in the closet. I don't know what they'll do as far as limiting who's able to get married, but all of that will go away. I've been saying this when I first came on TikTok. No one was saying Christian nationalism, and now we got to keep talking about it. Even when I cringe every time I listen to a mainstream media report and they talk about Republicans. They're Republicans, but these are radicals. These are extremists. There's no Republican Party left. These are Christian nationalist extremists, and this is for educational purposes only. I've got some more questions here. Okay, I did that. I think I got them all, Annette. Oh, here's a good question. I'm concerned about the new song, The Chosen One. I fear it will encourage people to vote for Trump. I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, I did a video on Saturday. It's got like 300 views because I did something wrong. I did something wrong in the algorithm to make the algorithm gods upset. But it's a good video. And if you go see it, I'm showing how that song is a bridge back to, how many of you remember the pastor from Indiana in 2022 who realized he was busted? And he got up, just like Micah Miller's, JP Miller, is that his name? He wanted to get ahead of it by preaching his sermon and then instructing his congregation on how they were going to respond to his wife's passing. He said, you're going to get up and not talk to anybody, and you're going to continue to come back here, and you're going to continue to support. He gave them their walking orders, because that's what these mega pastors do to the indoctrinated, and they know they have the power over them. So something really bad is getting ready to happen, but I'm going to tell you how you get to respond to it, because I'm the Christian patriarchal chosen one. So when you have deconstructed from that, I mean, there's really, yes, that case of Micah and JP Miller is horrific, but what I listened to was his words and how he was walking his congregation down. The same thing happened 2 years ago with a pastor from Indiana, where he got up and he said, I'm getting ready to tell you something, and it's really bad, but it only happened once. And I've asked God for forgiveness and all this stuff to remind you, he's the chosen one. Well, What he didn't expect was his victim, because he called it an affair, but his victim, who was 16 at the time of this, TikTok, this is for educational purposes only. Moderators, you can put that in the chat as well. That she was 16 when the affair started. It wasn't an affair. It was abuse. She and her husband walk out by themselves while the entire congregation gathers around the pastor to pray for him. Because he set that up beautifully. He set that up beautifully because he was reminding them, don't forget, I'm getting ready to tell you something I did that's really bad, but I'm the chosen one. So the day after Trump gets convicted, what happens? This song drops. This song drops. And what is it talking about? Oh, he's just human. He makes silly mistakes, but he's the chosen one. That was a shot across the bow to Christians. That was they are worried about the obedient and the compliant who are watching all this and saying, what the hell? We really are in a cult if we're supposed to vote for this guy. And that song is exactly the kind of manipulative tactics that J.P. Miller used when he announced his wife's unaliving, and the pastor in Indiana used when he wanted to tell his congregation about his affair, which wasn't an affair, it was abuse. This is for educational purposes only. This is about the indoctrination because they know how close they are to losing them and how fragile that is. So they don't care if you don't like them. They don't care if you go home and you cry in your pillow. All they care about is that you're obedient, you continue to come to church, you tithe, and you vote our way. That's what that song was about. Now, I don't think there's anybody new hearing that song that's going to go, oh my gosh, right. Oh, I get it now. Oh, he's just a human. I actually saw somebody who I know on another social media platform post the day after the conviction, Trump's conviction, and that says that Trump was a victim for each affair that he had. He was seduced. He was seduced. All three. He was seduced. And that was shared by people I know. So this was a manipulative tactic to start reminding the indoctrinated, do not forget who he is. We have already told you he's the chosen one. And if you can ignite that fear in these indoctrinated that says, if I go against my church leaders and I go against Trump, then I'm going against God. And when you are indoctrinated in that, it's real. It's scary. And I've told people this before, that when I finally left church, I sat on my porch and I cried because I thought I was going to hell. I was terrified. I thought, I know I'm going to hell because I'm not being obedient. I'm not being submissive, but I'm already in hell. So why I'm gonna take my chances. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I thought I was going to hell because that indoctrination is real. So when we tell you it's cult-like, it's cult-like. I don't know how many times I've had people here tell me, why? How could that ever be you? You're such a strong woman. I'm 60, I'll be 63 in 5 months. Not even that. 4 months. I don't even know what. Yeah, 4 months. I'll be 63. I'm a child of the 60s. We had pastors who were allowed to come in our church and pray with us. They were allowed to come in and get our names and addresses to invite us to VBS, to Vacation Bible School. We had Christmas plays with baby Jesus in the manger. The power of the white man was all over the place. We knew walking down the street that they had the right to question you, stop you. Can you imagine what black people must have, how they must have felt if I felt that as a young girl? When they talk about the good old days, that's what they want. That's what all of this is about, is to take them back to those times when nobody questioned the power of the white Christian man. Nobody. That's what they want. That's what they hope for. Hi, Summer. Jonathan says neither candidate is a man of integrity. Jonathan, I don't know that I don't agree with you. Let me ask you a question, and for the rest of you, when have I ever mentioned the name of Biden? This ain't a cult here. I'm not Team Biden, but I'm going to vote for Biden because I'm going to try to do everything I can to keep us from going into a Christian fascist country. So I'm going to vote, but do I think our entire patriarchal system is broken? Yes. It's disgusting. It is what has corrupted us for all these years. Our demographics inside government does not reflect the actual type of Americans. If they did, there would be more black people, there would be more indigenous people, there would be more people of color, there would be more women, there would be more than just Christians. Where 88% of Congress is comprised of Christians, when as a nation we're less than 50% now. So no, it's a broken system that needs to be completely dismantled. So I won't sit here and say that I'm going to do this because I'm going to go get a tattoo across my forehead or on my shoulder that says Team Biden. I'm not like that. It's broken. It enrages me to see how much it's broken. Raven at my writing desk, hi. Are you here? Raven at my writing desk, you requested to come up. Are you here? Okay, she went away. I scared her. Susie Caldwell. Hello, Susie.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I
Good.
love your videos. They have just spoken to me so much.
Good. Are you are you deconstructing?
Um, I'm kind of trying to understand that a little bit.
Okay, how can I help you? Do you have a specific
Well,
question, or did you have a
are, are,
thought
are,
about what we're
are,
talking about today?
well, I just now joined, so I'm kind of playing catch up.
Okay.
Okay. I have seen some of your other things on deconstruction, and it is that meaning to we're deconstructing from what we were taught to be or what we supposedly were.
Yes, so let me give you just a quick definition of deconstructing. I never heard it until I came to TikTok, to be honest with you. I called it untangling from my beliefs that no longer serve my highest good. So it's much easier to call it deconstructing, but it's not my favorite word. But even though it's the name of my book that's coming out in October, because everybody knows that word. But if they don't, let me explain why we use it. Yes, Summer, that's a very good point. deconstruction isn't just about religion. And that's why the point that I had on the green screen behind me is that understanding decolonizing is so very much important in what we're doing. But deconstructing is, I mean, so you can deconstruct from anything, but what we're deconstructing from here in our little part of TikTok is a lot of our religious heritage. So for many of us, that was evangelical, fundamentalist, conservative, high control Christianity. And it can fit anywhere in one of those buckets, even though evangelical doesn't necessarily mean you're fundamentalist, doesn't necessarily mean you're conservative. They all kind of cross over into each other. And it doesn't mean that the entirety of that landscape is as problematic as what's coming out of Christian nationalism right now. Many people
Right.
hold on to their beliefs, but they reject Christian nationalism and reject vehemently Donald Trump. So that's why I always say that the most important thing about deconstructing isn't about what you believe coming out on the other side, it's who you are. Because many of us came from a type of Christianity where we felt like we were part of an exclusive Christian club. And buddy, we showed it. We just needed everybody to know what we knew, and so that we could give them the love of Jesus. We just didn't realize how arrogant it was and how close-minded it was and how much it was conditioning us to not just live in our beliefs, but to believe that we had the right to force our beliefs on other people. So we became religious oppressionists. I'm not even sure if that's a word, but I'm making it up. Because what that is like I believe at one time I did believe that being gay was a sin. And when I realized I couldn't hold on to that belief anymore because I was hearing around me what that meant, that people didn't believe that the LGBTQI should marry, that they shouldn't be clergy. I didn't believe. I was shifting away. I could feel me shifting and moving away from that indoctrination, that indoctrinated belief. And what I didn't realize was the definition of religious freedom, which had been contorted in my indoctrination, which said, as a Christian in this country, I have the right that my belief be the dominant belief in the entire United States. You ask Mike Pence, that's exactly the way he defines religious freedom. That's actually religious oppression.
Right.
Because then I am expecting everyone else to live the way I believe. But we were taught that that was God's way. We were taught that that's what God wanted. So that's why I say, so if you listen to what I very rarely will talk about specific beliefs. So in other words, I am not going to challenge you on what you believe about the virgin birth. I'm not going to challenge you on what you believe about creation. I'm not going to challenge you on what you believe about the resurrection. I will challenge you on the rapture. I will push back on the rapture because that has led to so much fear-based theology that that's actually part of what's happening right now when we talk about Christian Zionism. Now, I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff out here. We're not going to go down too many rabbit holes today because I'm going to have to wrap this up in a minute. But when we're talking about this whole Christian nationalism and its Christian Zionism is rooted in there, that comes from this theology about rapture that's only several hundred years old. It is not in the Bible. It is not in the Bible. And so, but what I want to help people understand is that you can live a spiritual life that doesn't require you to mandate how others live and believe. And we think that some people think just leaving church is enough when it isn't, especially for those of us with my skin color, because we have to accept the fact that white supremacy is very much tied into the modern American evangelical Christian experience. And you don't know where those indoctrinations are hiding. And so it's important to stay in these deconstructing spaces to unpack that and learn to let those things go. So that is a really convoluted explanation, but that is what the way that we try to explain deconstructing. I do have some book recommendations on my website that you can go check out. I am starting a subscription here on TikTok where we're going to actually have private lives in there where we're going to be more specific about those teachings, really kind of dive into some of the things I put in the book. Because it's very hard. Number one, we're not going to have it out here in the public forum. We've got trolls galore that we deal with. And it's a way to support me in my work. In order for me to stay here, there are ways I need to be able to support my ministry. So that will help us do that. So do you have any other questions about anything I said?
No, I think that really cleared up a lot of things for me. I have grown up in the South. I came out at a time back in the '80s that it was really not the thing to do, and I really questioned my religious beliefs. And luckily, I dodged being a Baptist growing up, but I'm still trying to find out where I fit in and what I really do believe now.
Well, I think that you will find a safe place here to at least just sit back and listen to our stories, listen to some of our teachings, and ask questions when you feel comfortable and confident to do so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to take you down, and Holly, you've joined, so hello.
Hi. So honored to be here with you, Rev Karla.
Thank you.
As you were talking about, well, as Auntie calls him, Dingleberry, McFuckstick, the donkey, taint orange thing. Yeah, anyway, he has really...
You must be talking about Rosie.
Rosie, yes. One of my favorite ways to describe that man
Yeah.
or person, whatever it is. It's breaking my heart that I'm being torn from my biological family because I can't be quiet any longer. And it's been very hard. Going home, my family lives in a conservative state. I live in California now. And they think that I've just lost my mind. But I moved to California to go to seminary 19 years ago. I went to seminary. In the middle of seminary, on the way to becoming a Presbyterian minister, I actually landed my ass in rehab. I did a master's of theology. I have a master's in recovery ministry, and I'm currently a drug and alcohol counselor, serving in a whole new way. And I can't stand that this man that is a horrible person towards women, a horrible person towards this country, and my family adores and honors that. It's breaking my relationships with them, and it hurts.
I know that's hard. I know that's really hard. That's also why I think that I've been making the videos about going no contact, because I'm getting a lot of calls and messages from people. It's hard to be alienated from the people that you love, but you also have to be able to protect yourself. So that's why I think these spaces, again, going back to why they're wanting to ban TikTok, is because there is empowerment here. While ideally being in a physical space with people in your community, which we also know it's just impossible. We're learning how to navigate virtual communities and find a safe space.
Yeah. This has been a safe space. TikTok has been a place where I've learned deconstruction. I've learned why instead of running from having any spiritual connection, to recognizing I need something that's bigger than me, and sometimes it's the community of people that can hold a safe space.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. Jonathan, I'm seeing your comments all the way back to 1 Corinthians 6:9. No one is denying that Paul was more than likely homophobic, but also very much was talking about things that were related to his context in his culture. It's also you also know that in 1946 there was a mistranslation that led to the addition of homosexuality becoming in the Bible. It tried to get corrected, but it didn't. And he was talking specifically to a set of people not practicing in certain types of rituals that would separate them from what he was how he was trying to expand Christianity. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. To really understand that, you need to be following Dan McClellan and Reverend Brandon Robertson, who are both scholars, and they unpack what the Bible is actually saying about this so that you can understand. The last comment where you mentioned don't burn the bridge with your family, I want to be really careful for anybody who sees something like that you don't feel some kind of conviction because of your decision to go no contact. Oftentimes when somebody says, let's see, Jonathan, and again, this isn't, I don't know you and I don't know anything about you, but oftentimes that's, what your connection to your family is reflected in the advice that you give someone. And someone who's go no contact is going no contact for a number of reasons. And we can't minimize the fact that someone doesn't feel safe or doesn't feel respected. And the way these dynamics have often occurred is that the person who has been abused, silenced, victimized, they often have done so to such their own detriment that their lives have been marginalized to the point that they don't have a voice. They're constantly stressed. They have emotional challenges and mental challenges that require, much more therapeutic and medical intervention to help them because of these unhealthy familial dynamics. So we help people support their decisions and trust that they're doing what's right for them so that they can be safe and find the people in their inner circle who respect them for who they are. Now, that doesn't mean that somewhere down the line you may reconcile with somebody that you've gone no contact with or low contact with. I think it is important that you reassess and reevaluate, but you do that in a safe space with people that you can talk to. So you say, all right, I need to, am I good? Am I checking? Yeah, I'm not safe. I see what they're posting. I see what they're saying. They're the same people. I'm not safe. But sometimes what happens is there is change. There is a shift on the side of the person with whom you're no contact. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be crossing old bridges. Those are often annihilated. You're going to build bridges high over those troubled waters. And if it's just to say, you know what, I want to make sure I can be there for my grandfather's birthday, or they want to be involved with your children, you make that the highest bridge and you figure out mutual understanding and respect. But that takes a lot of work. So it's not just enough to tell somebody don't burn those bridges or don't lose your family. Sometimes losing your family is what you absolutely have to do to be loved and supported by those who see you and love you unconditionally. So I just want to make sure that we're being really careful with that. You're welcome. You're welcome. But Batazuni, I like that. Yeah, kitty care, absolutely. I'm sorry. I'm just getting caught up on comments. I'm going to go ahead and take you down. Please come back and see us, Holly, and keep us posted and let us know how things are going, okay?
Thank you.
All right, take care. I've got time for one more person, and we're going to call it a day.
Hi, I'm really enjoying this. I'm a preacher's son.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
I apologize. I'm a preacher's son. My dad's been a Methodist preacher for over 50 years and a Southern Liberal Democrat. He preached at South Georgia Conference. My aunt's also a Methodist preacher. She ran Africa by the Sea in Georgia for a long time. But I don't want to keep talking. I want to listen. But I wanted to acknowledge, when you find somebody you can really listen to and really knows what they're talking about, it's and we share the same passion, I think. It's not the first time I listened, it's the first time I interacted. But I want to follow you, I want to support what you're doing. I'm well read in scripture and can offer some things, but I would love that kind of engagement. If I may say this, and then I'm going to shut up and listen, okay? My centerpiece, ironically, I went to Liberty for a survey, old and new, right? But they taught me the grace and love of God. We could never get it right, period, ever. And then I moved and got moved by the greatest commandment: love God, neighbor as yourself. Well, how do you love God? You love your neighbor. And then it goes on, and most of the people that have degrees in this don't even know what the third line is. All law and prophecy hinge on those two things. That means that entire back section, other than history, is about loving your neighbor. It was always, to me, after discovering this, apparent that God gave us the law not to doom us to hell, but to help us not hurt one another. And that's it. It's one of those things. I can talk about Romans all day too, but I don't want to do that. I want to overwhelm. This is a significant find for me. I want to say thank you, and I look forward to joining whatever it costs in that group.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's going to be very affordable. It's going to be like $5 a month, and it's going to be accessible. And that doesn't mean, I saw some comments and concerns, I will still come here live. I've been doing this now for over 4 years. I came here during COVID and haven't made a dime. So it's time. With the book being launched, in order for me to stay in this space, some things have to be monetized. And so that I've been very, very fortunate to be able to do this the way I have. But now there are ways that I can do that and be able to stay here. So yes, come back and see me sometime, and I appreciate your words. It's interesting that you went to Liberty. I love it.
And my dad almost lost his mind. He went to Oxford at Emory.
Ah,
Yeah, but he's cool. I look forward to getting to know you, and I'm a little giddy because I'm excited about the fun.
good.
And I just want you to know that. I'll drop myself down, but thank you for
Okay.
doing what you're doing. It's so relevant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Okay, I saw when talking about 1946 with my dad's grandma's Bible was whipped out, it said effeminate in the 1930. Yep. There's a whole thing about what it means to be effeminate and why that was considered something that was so egregious that they needed to talk about it. Again, we're talking about culture. There is a wonderful book that's coming out. Not till later this year, I think. I reviewed it. It's wonderful. I just don't know if I have permission to say it yet. I keep forgetting to talk to this person to see if I can. But y'all are going to be taking notes. I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. We'll be talking about it all the time. Oh, you went to Fuller, Holly. That's amazing. All right. Why you guys? Who are you guys? User 5229. First of all, you're with all due respect, user 5229, your ignorance is showing, because there's an entire month that's related to veterans. So if you don't know anything about Military Appreciation Month, I'm pretty sure that's in May. There's also a month that's dedicated to the family of veterans. So, but the reason that we celebrate both Black History Month, Native American Heritage Month, and also anything that's related to any kind of Black, Indigenous, and people of color is because of the ignorance and the bias and prejudice and racism in this country. And because of that indoctrination that we were talking about earlier, where people want to believe that these things don't exist, it's important to educate people and to make sure that we're amplifying the voices of the historically oppressed and marginalized and give educational opportunities. So most of the time, the people who are offended by those educational opportunities are offended because of their indoctrination, who compels them to either live in fear or hate or both. And sadly, that often originates in a patriarchal system that's related to religion or family. So, or both. They are all interchanged. So June was chosen because of the Stonewall riots. And if you don't know what those are, you can go research that. You can also watch a documentary that's on Netflix that's about the life of Marsha P. Johnson. So if you're really interested, we don't use capitalizations here. Child of pick first pick harvest. Good grief. For some reason, yeah, thank you. Just go ahead and delete the comment. If they want to come back, they can, but no caps. So yes, the bigotry really shows in June. So go watch the Netflix documentary. Listen to the voices of the oppressed. But if that offends you, then you are exactly the people that this is for. You are exactly the people that these months are for. But saying that people only get a day is just shows you choose to remain in ignorance. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Queen of my castle. You're so lovely. Thank you for that. I've never seen those before. My grandson would have absolutely loved that. Q would have loved that. Megan, yes, history has glossed right over Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera. Watch that documentary if you have not seen it. It's powerful, powerful, powerful. And it explains how horribly treated and what the first pride parade, of course it was in New York City, but it was to remember, commemorate the Stonewall riots. That's what it was there for. It's really good, and it's on Netflix, so it's only about an hour long. But yeah, it's really good. So make sure you go watch that. Thank you. You know, I'm a 12-year Navy Corpsman, Fleet Marine Force. I love Pride. Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what we needed to hear, and a wonderful way to end today. Kitty Care, I see your comment. The common phrase for history is it's whitewashed like a fence, but deeper meaning. Yep, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. Thank you all. Okay, so Jonathan, there's a clip. Yeah, so you're going to find people like Morgan and other people, whether it's Black people. I don't know what that was. Lynette, was that you? It might have been you, Lynette. Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, who say that racism doesn't exist, or women who say that sexism doesn't exist. When it does, but it serves them because they're high enough in the patriarchal structure that they're not impacted by the things of their own people or of their own gender. Lynette, I think you need to mute. There you go. Are you muted? I'm just hearing a keyboard. I don't know where it's coming from. It might be you. And so it's like what's her name? I don't even like to say Candace Owen. She's always rolled out. She's always rolled out. Well, yeah, what about Candace Owen? Look at her. Look what she's saying. Well, who cares what Candace Owen says? She's gulping down the benefits of patriarchy. She's a willing participant. It doesn't mean that you can't be anti-black. That's exactly what she's doing at the detriment of her own people because she's benefiting from the system. So yeah, it's the same like whoever says that that there's not sexism in church, whatever. The women that get up and say that, no, there absolutely is. They're just high enough on the patriarchal organizational structure that they're willing to step on our heads to stay up there. That's all it is. They get up there and they'll pour the water down on everybody else because they like their proximity to power. That's what this is. All right, y'all. Thank you all so very much. I'll be back on Wednesday at noon Eastern. I teach a live workshop twice a month called Sacred Conversations. And I teach that tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's called It Is Well With My Soul. It's about the grief journey, acknowledging our sorrow. One of the things that our indoctrination often did was suppress our emotions because we weren't allowed to have those. You can find that information out where you see my face. That's where you can register. It is not on social media. So thank you, Liza Marie. Thank you also very much. Yes, The Death and Life of Marsha P. Johnson. Please go see that. That's your Pride homework. Go watch that. And thank you also very much. It has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for all the gifts, the likes, the shares, the follows. And if this is Pride Month, and beautiful soul, if you are out loud and proud, I celebrate along with you. And I affirm you and I love you. But if you are closeted for your safety or your financial well-being, or you will not have a roof over your head because your safety depends on you staying in the closet, I want you to know I see you. I love you. And what your life is now is not what it's going to be like forever. Make your plan. Understand that there are people coming into your inner circle who will help you and support you. So just for today, I'll sit there in the closet with you and hold your hand and remind you that you are loved and you are not a mistake and you are not a sin. You're beautiful just as you are. So for everyone else, make it a wonderful Monday. And I will see you Wednesday about 12 Eastern. As long as I don't have any audio or technical problems, I'll be there then. Thank you all so very much. Bye for now.